What's up, everybody? It's Fireplace Friday. I'm Jeremy, your host, here at Fluesbrothers World Headquarters. I'm shutting my doors because we got phones a ringing and things happening. There's my free smells sign that was gifted to me because I think it's hilarious every time I see it. It's a national chain, restaurant chain, used to put those up in their restaurants. I always thought it was funny, so it makes me smile. You should always have things that make you smile in your office. I've got pictures of my kids and wife and all that stuff. So anyways, let's see here. Looks like we're doing good. Looks like everything's live. What did I want to talk about today? Well, I want to talk about this. I'm going to bring this up. All right. So right here, a lot of people are adding porches or sunrooms and things. Whoop, and there goes my computer. Sunrooms, porches, things like that to their home. And there's a little something that we keep on seeing. And I want to point this out to all of you that are landscapers or builders of these contractors and even homeowners, because it's your responsibility too, because it's your house. So on a lot of these, there's this little thing outside. And if you have one of these little things outside, that typically means that you have a direct vent gas fireplace. And they usually vent out a sidewall or what have you if it's got a solid pane of glass on the fireplace. And this porch, these vent out the back of the house, and it always seems like they kind of land where you want to put a porch on if you don't already have a porch, or if you want to enclose one in. The problem is all of your venting comes out through here, so it also gets hot out here. So that's kind of a problem when you enclose the area. Even if you put screen on it, two sides of the porch are supposed to be fully unblocked. And that's kind of a minimum, but the big thing is when you screen it in, and that kind of creates a problem with flow. And even if you don't have it screened in, putting chairs around and everything, that most of them do have a pilot that's venting, and that's a little bit of carbon monoxide. So it's not really good for your lungs. Also, you could get burnt. You can get carbon monoxide and things when this is right here. So it's something that needs to be considered when designing the porch system, to make sure that this is that this is away from that area. Also, this does require clearances to structures and things like that. So we don't want to shut this up into a room. We also want to make sure that it's got proper clearances if we build one beside. So let me show you. So the question is, what if I do want this here? Well, you've got to make sure that maybe it can be vented differently. So let me show you another one. And this was done by unfortunately by a contractor. And most contractors, they don't know what they don't know. I get it, but that's why I'm making this video for contractors. So you can see this one, they actually tried to re-vent. The fireplace is on this side, and they vented the pipe up through here. The problem with that is that pipe requires clearances, again, to the siding and everything, because it's obviously venting a lot of heat, a lot of moisture, things like that. So this is what the tech found, and of course the fireplace wasn't working right. Well, this was done by an unqualified contractor who doesn't deal with venting, and they tried to do their best, but there's a lot of stuff missing here. So we're going to point out a few things that's wrong with this. One, it's the wrong type of pipe. This fireplaces require a special type of pipe that's made for that fireplace. So it has no cooling air, intake air, so the unit is shutting off. And this cap isn't correct. It doesn't allow cooling air. This pipe is incorrect. This is all stuff you can get at Home Depot, and you can't buy fireplace stuff at Home Depot that's going to just work. This vent should be 18 inches away. If you look in the owner's manual, it's right up against the siding. That's a fire hazard. And then I guess whoever put the roofing on doesn't know how to do flashings properly, because flashings are supposed to have a collar right here, or water's going to get in there. I don't care how much silicone you put on there. The pipe grows, expands, and contracts, and it doesn't really make a good seal right there. So it's missing componentry right there as well. So stepping back, let's go back a couple. Also, you never want your flashing to really be that close to the edge. Hopefully they did some good step flashing there. It's hard to see in the photo. Okay, so I want to click to the inside. That's B vent. It's not the right venting. Got a lot of good pictures. Let's go back. Okay, so this is what they did in the room. So that obviously we can see that is not opening on a couple sides. This was their vent, and that's not enough clearance from the roof down. So it was just all designed really bad. Also, this is the air-cooled part. This is a pipe. There's a pipe that actually would come through. The proper pipe allows air in to the unit, and then this would be the exhaust. Now, that's not a bad idea, from an engineering standpoint, but it won't work because the units weren't engineered and tested to work this way. So, if we're going off of, hey, I've got an idea, let's see if this works, and we're self-engineering things that don't need to be self-engineered because if they're installed properly, you don't have to self-engineer things. Same thing as when you're building homes or you're putting on siding or whatever. If you have to self-engineer something, one, you're running the risk that it won't work, which this fireplace wasn't working because it's not engineered properly. Someone altered the way it should have been. They altered it on their own, and lo and behold, it didn't work right. So you've always got to ask, okay, if we've got to do this weird self-engineering thing trying to make this thing work, why couldn't it have been done right in the first place? So the fix on this one, luckily the venting chart on this particular fireplace, if we take this off and we adapt the right pipe, which the pipe's not always available, and bring it out farther and go up through and terminate up through here with the right pipe and the right flashing and the right distance away as per the manual of the fireplace, which can be easily found online, then the unit should work because it's all to the proper specs that has been tested, which these units get tested quite a bit. And who are we to re-engineer something that's been tested and listed, to make sure it's safe to put into our house and stuff. And the minute that these things get altered, or we cut corners, or we see something on Pinterest, or in this case, the contractor wasn't very happy on how much it cost to correct. It could have been done right the first time, probably for less money. But now we have to correct that. And on top of it, all of this wood on the ceiling is going to be ruined because we've got to move the hole over. And then they've also got, the homeowner's going to have to live with a piece of pipe going out and up, which probably, if discussed originally with the homeowner, wouldn't have been too bad of a thing. But since it's after the fact, it's more of a disappointment rather than something pointed out first. That's how, experts are. You want to point out as much as humanly possible. So the expectation is set because you're the expert, not the homeowner. The homeowner's an expert at whatever they do for a living. And so I wouldn't try to do someone's taxes. Could I? Well, sure. Anybody could do something if you have the right training and experience and things. Of course, since I'm not a tax person, I'm not going to try that. As a contractor or a homeowner, if you're not a chimney person, then you're taking a lot of risk doing some of this work that you don't know anything about, and that's what happened with this. The contractor is not licensed to do that work, did the work, and now, unfortunately, there's some animosity between the homeowner and the contractor, and the contractor tried to drag us into it, which isn't really fair. From a contractor standpoint, and if the gentleman ever sees this, look, he had called and the homeowner kind of wanted to pass it off because it's his problem, even though the homeowner owns the home. But the homeowner had hired us. We figured out what the problem was, gave a quote, and look, just like anything, if somebody doesn't like the quote, contractor thought the quote was too high. Look, we know what our numbers are. We have to put it down, and everything was lined out and everything. Of course, he doesn't like the price. Even if it was just a couple $100, he wouldn't like the price. Because it's something that he didn't factor, and it's busting into his profit margin. But this is why you need to be educated about these things, so that can be brought up at the beginning, so we don't have these problems at the end. And anyways, we were on a text thread line that said, well, I'm going to get other estimates. Well, no problem. We compare apples to apples all the time. We really shouldn't cheap things because we've already got ourselves in some trouble. But the price is what the price is. We know what our numbers are in order to employ people and do all this stuff, and we break it down. And whatever spits out is what spits out. Are there people that might do something cheaper? Well, there's a lot of people that do a lot of things cheaper, but is it going to get done right? That's the big question. Are they licensed or certified? Do they know what they're doing? Things of that nature. Because in the text thread, the contractor said, well, if we can't find anybody a lot cheaper, which the price is irrelevant, it is how much it costs, then we'll buy the parts and do it ourselves. Remember, this is that same person saying that is the same person who did this. I wouldn't suggest that if someone messes something up really, really bad in the first place and has no concept, that they're the ones that fix it, even with guidance from someone else. It's probably best. We've already been through this once. We're now going to have to penetrate another hole, and that wood's going to have to be fixed by the contractor and stuff. It's probably not a bad idea to go, okay, maybe I should just hire the right person who knows what they're doing. Again, just because you think something's high, I tell people all the time, when we've remodeled 2 places, we remodeled the loft here at our shop at Fluesbrothers World Headquarters for some more space up there, and we've remodeled our home. There wasn't anything when I got a quote on electric. Like that still bedazzles me to wire an area, how much it costs. Countertops, cabinetry, all of that stuff when I got the quote. And I did compare prices here and there a little bit with good other quality. You got a lot of things that you need to factor. It isn't just buying a television. That's the same TV, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to pay that. You want to look at all the details, licensing, and the material being used and things like that, because that is the wrong material being used. And every single one of them, man, that's expensive. Well, it's because I didn't know. And of course, I did my due diligence, looked things up, and guess what? That's how much things cost. And so very rarely do I hear somebody that finds out, okay, I've got to have this work done. And when this person got the quote for the porch, that's why you get estimates, because you don't know how much something is. And someone gives it to you, and you go, wow, that's expensive. It's always expensive. It's never less than what you think it's going to be, right? And then you start, okay, well, that's more than I want. Maybe it's more than you wanted to pay. So you start whittling things down. But just getting other estimates, if and other ones are coming in like a lot less or half the price, you got to ask why. Why is it? It's not just because someone's trying to rip me off, someone's trying to gouge me. No, there's always a why. So instead of just assuming or jumping the gun on things, it's not absurd to ask or asking, can I get a breakdown? What good is a breakdown? It isn't. It's just going to be a bunch of material and labor, and it still doesn't matter. The price is still that at the end of it, so it doesn't matter how much you break it down. That's what a lot of companies like ours work off flat rate. So due to the fact that we're not charging you for every single hour, if a job goes over, you still pay what we quoted, because it's based on the average time length that type of a job should take. If you're paying someone hourly, they might be just dragging their feet. They might never get it done, things like that. So it's best to flat hourly rates and stuff like that are a thing of the past. Everybody works off flat rate pricing. It keeps the world moving and everything. So if you have any comments about any of this stuff that I'm going over, please leave me some comments. I'm more than happy to look and see different points of view and things. But 23 years business owner, running a service business. I've done a lot of research. I've been to a lot of seminars. I've heard talks from some of the best business people on earth. And it's we're utilizing all of that best stuff and suggestions. That's why we get so many high ratings. That's why we kind of at the top of our game, things of that nature. But I digress. I ramble on. So what have we learned from this? One, if you've got a vent, like a dryer vent, it could be a kitchen exhaust, it could be any of that stuff. You want to know where it exits if we're going to be adding things onto your house. A lot of times we get calls and they're adding a second story onto the house or adding an addition or whatever, and those items are vented through, and luckily someone caught it. But a lot of times we get the calls afterwards, and they've got a masonry chimney now in an attic that terminates in the attic, and they're like, well, can't you just throw some pipe? Can't you just, if you ever got to say the words can't you just, the answer is that isn't, whatever you can't you just is not going to be done right. If it was that easy, we'd be jumping all over it, people would be doing it left and right, and it's typically not. In order to meet the minimum standard code on things or the minimum standard manufacturer instructions, those things really need to be looked at during the planning phase, not after we've already done it all, then we'll figure it out then, because that's where a lot of frustration comes in and a lot of cost, because it's nothing in the chimney world is cheap. We're working at heights, so that takes care of the labor stuff, but material, it's not a really, really easy common thing. So, we have to special order things and stuff like that. It's just a very small industry. So the material is going to be a little more expensive than material that, like how much do you think a piece of siding would cost if there wasn't siding on every house, or it's a special type of siding or what have you? It'd be special order, and you gotta get it. Well, anything custom, things like that. So again, all this chimney stuff, it has to be done right, and it has to be done with the right material, or it just simply won't work. And then you get yourself into frustrating situations, like, oh well, the contractor should have known that. Well, obviously didn't. So they don't want all those headaches and everything. But when you get yourself in a pickle, just like when I get myself in a pickle, and you go, oh gosh, we messed up. You want the best to help you out, not the cheapest, or somebody off of Craigslist, or somebody says that, oh yeah, I can do that. You want a real company to help solve that problem. And unfortunately, some problems can't be solved. Unfortunately, some problems require tearing things out and redoing it again. We see that on the HGTV stuff all the time. Mike Holmes, Homes on Homes, build it right, So anyways, that's that. I wanted to go over that because I know people are putting additions onto their house and porches and things. You want to make sure it's done right, or the fireplace won't work right, or you're going to have to spend a lot more money, or you're going to have a frustrating time with whatever person tried to alter this and did it incorrectly. So let's make sure we're hiring the right people and making sure they know what they're doing. And typically when you're hiring the right people and they know what they're doing, usually it's never as cheap as you think it should be, or maybe you don't think. I'll admit, I wasn't thinking, well, this is about how much it should cost to wire an entire house up here. No, it was more of a, okay, we need someone to do this. Okay, let's get it rolling. And then you see, oh my gosh, the quote from the contractor shows you the quote. And it's like, oh my gosh, it costs that much. And then you start doing all the, research and things like that. But pretty much most of the time, the little detail stuff, people don't know how much it'll be or whatever. It's not like you're buying a television where you can look up the exact brand and then research 5 different vendors, and you're getting the same thing every single time. So why not go? But you got to watch at that point too, because maybe they didn't factor in shipping or stuff like that, and then ends up being kind of the same price. So anyways, Any questions or anything, give us a call. Have a great weekend. I don't know if it's supposed to rain or not. I didn't really check the weather for this weekend, but I've taken up enough of your time on Fireplace Friday. Again, let us know. And, if you're not sure and you are putting an addition on, or you're putting a porch on or whatever, you could just hire chimney guy to see if you do have anything venting out there, or make sure if you do, hey, can this be moved, or do we need to replace the fireplace too, or what's going to happen there. It's good to get that stuff out in advance and stop thinking that your contractor or your deck builder, whoever, knows every aspect about your home. Just because someone's a contractor doesn't mean they know how to do every single aspect in a home. Even a contractor that builds houses uses industries, especially industries. Nobody can have the knowledge base and the ability to just do it all. Even if you're a jack of all trades, you can usually find stuff that that person's been doing that isn't spot on. So do realize that other trades have to get involved in many big projects, and even if you think they're not being involved, they are involved. So alrighty, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week for Fireplace Friday.